Zodiac, the shadow that wrote its own destiny in the late 1960s. The Bay Area was going through a turbulent period. The Vietnam War divided families. The counterculture flourished on the streets of San Francisco, and the police dealt with a record increase in violent crime. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared those cities for what was about to happen. On the night of December 20th, 1968, two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, parked their car on a deserted road called Lake Herman Road. It was just another typical date until a man approached silently. The details are still hazy, but we know he attacked with precision, coldness, and disturbing speed. When the police arrived, the couple was dead. No witnesses, no motive, no clear footprints. That night seemed like an isolated crime. But it wasn't. 7 months later, in the early morning of July 5th, 1969, another attack occurred, this time in Blue Rock Springs. Darlene Farron died instantly. Michael Mageau survived only to recount that the shooter used a flashlight attached to his weapon, a grim improvisation that illuminated the victims' faces at the exact moment of the shot. A calculated, cold detail, almost theatrical. And then something unprecedented happened. Shortly after the crime, a man called the police, the voice to come for the situation, confessed not only to that attack, but also to the previous murder on Lake Herman Road. He described the weapon, the shots, every detail, but he hung up before they could trace the call. And it was there, that moment, that the legend was born. Weeks later, the true terror began to take shape. The San Francisco Chronicle received a handwritten letter. It wasn't an ordinary letter. It was a manifesto. 3 newspapers received 3 parts of an encrypted code, accompanied by a demand: publish immediately or he would do something much worse. The signature: a circle crossed by a cross, and right below, a single word: Zodiac. The letters kept arriving, always accompanied by symbols, riddles, provocative messages. The killer seemed not to kill just for pleasure. He wanted to be seen, feared, read. He wanted the spotlight. In the autumn of 1969, while newspapers debated whether or not to publish the letters, a new attack occurred. It was September 27th when a couple, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, were resting on the shores of Lake Burr. The silence of the lake was broken when a man emerged from among the trees. He wore a black hood, similar to that of a medieval executioner, with the zodiac symbol emblazoned on the chest. He tied up the couple, talked to them, talked, and then brutally stabbed them. Before fleeing, he left a written mark on the victim's car door, dates of his previous crimes, and his signature. That signature would have historical weight. 2 weeks later, in San Francisco, taxi driver Paul Stein was shot in the head. 3 teenagers saw the killer wipe away his fingerprints before disappearing on foot into the shadows of the Presidio Heights neighborhood. It was the last confirmed murder, and another letter arrived at the Chronicle, containing tears from the taxi driver's bloodied shirt, proof that he was lying about absolutely nothing. And this is where the story becomes bigger than the crimes. The letters began to transform into a psychological game against all of California. He spoke directly to the police, calling them pigs, mocking their failures, and promising, "I will collect slaves for the afterlife." Each correspondence came accompanied by more symbols, more codes, more enigmas. The most famous of them, the Z340, was an undecipherable wall of 340 scrambled symbols. FBI experts, cryptographers, mathematicians, and even amateurs dedicated years trying to decipher it. Decades passed. Documentaries have attempted to explain it. Books have been written. the cipher has endured, as if it were an eternal provocation, until more than 50 years later, 3 independent researchers from different countries finally managed to break the code. They used computers, algorithms, and modern cryptography techniques, and finally revealed the content. But to the frustration of many, the message didn't name the killer. It was just another arrogant statement, another provocation, another cynical message. It said the police would never catch him, and to this day, they haven't. For years, numerous suspects were investigated. Among them, one name stood out: Arthur Lee Allen. He was the only man formally recognized as a suspect by the authorities. There were disturbing coincidences, times, locations, personal tastes, enigmatic statements, but nothing, absolutely nothing, conclusively linked him to the letters or the crimes. There was no DNA, there were no fingerprints, there was no proven weapon. And when he died in 1992, he took any possible truth with him. The case became a labyrinth, where each door opens to another theory, another suspect, another fragment of a letter. Online forums exploded with theories. Documentaries helped shape suspects, and the public itself became part of the mystery, searching for clues hidden in the subtext of the letters, as if the killer were still sending messages from the past. But perhaps the truth was never in the symbols, the codes, the letters. Perhaps the truth has always been in the very absence of answers. The Zodiac remains one of the most famous criminal cases in modern history. Its legacy is unsettling. It proved that a killer can become immortal not by the crimes he commits, but by the narrative he himself constructs. He wanted to be remembered. He wanted to be feared. And half a century later, he succeeded. And while his letters remain exposed in archives, while new technologies attempt to extract DNA from the envelopes, while investigators still examine every mark, every stroke, every curve of the letter, a shadow continues to linger over the story. The shadow of a man who killed, wrote, and disappeared. A man whose name was never revealed. A man who achieved exactly what he wanted: to become immortal.